Jason, Clear Creek Farm. How we doing today? Today I'm going to talk about semen tanks and transporting semen tanks. This morning I'm heading out to get some semen transported over into this tank. It's actually a ways away. It's actually out in Oklahoma. But I'm going to bring you along with as much as I can. I'm not really for sure if I'm going to be able to video while I'm out there transferring it or not. I'm going to talk a little bit about what you need to do to check before you take off and leave with your tank, just to ensure that your tank is good while you're in transportation. So our semen tank is an old semen tank. It's an Arctic 22. This thing's probably 15, 20 years old. I got this from a guy that had it for quite a few years. When you're looking at semen tanks, don't go too small, don't go too big, but make sure when you're looking at one that you get one that is able to accept full canes. And what a cane is, it's a long stick with a couple goblins on it that they put the semen in. There's some of them that will only accept half canes. Them are a little bit harder to find, the half canes. They're a smaller tank, shorter and stout. But if you go somewheres and you buy from an auction or something like that, in the goat industry, we have a lot of auctions where they're selling semen. You're not going to be able to transport it properly. You'll have to find some way to transport it. But these bigger tanks cost a little bit more, but they're well worth the investment. They'll last for years. Make sure when you're storing your tank, our tank usually sits over here in the corner, but you put it up on blocks. It keeps it from rusting out, for one thing, because this is always, it's not really cold because of the insulation in the tank, but it is, it will collect moisture if you have a really high moisture environment. So that's something that you want to make sure that it's up off the ground, it's on wood or something like that. We have somebody that comes around and services our tank every 3 months. And what I mean by service our tank is fill it up with nitrogen. Nitrogen is what keeps the semen cold. And you want to make sure that you have plenty of nitrogen in it before you transport it. I don't know what actually is a safe transporting amount. I've heard anything more than 10 centimeters. They deal in centimeters when they come to nitrogen. So I will check that. I have actually a stick here, yardstick that has centimeters on it. I will check that to see where we're at before we end up transporting. Because while you're transporting, the tank will actually use more because it's sloshing around and stuff like that. It will burn off more. I'm going to show you a little bit here on the top when I open it up. Our tank actually has, the top is inside is broken, so I put a towel over top to try to keep the nitrogen in. So I'm going to show you how I check to see how much nitrogen is in the tank. And then I'm going to talk a little bit more about transporting. Okay, see, I got this clip here. I just have that there so that way it can't pop open. I have the cloth there, as I said. This should have a plastic piece, which would hold down on top. But when you're pulling it out, this is the plug. See how much of the frost came up here. So that is about 4 or 5 inches of frost on there. And you've seen when I pulled that out that there some gas came out with it. These are canes. I don't want to keep this out too long, but there actually is numbers around this, starting with 1 here, 2, 3, 4, and it tells you can hold a lot of semen in one of these things. We have a bunch of old semen in here that we got with the tank. So it is, actually there's quite a little bit of semen in there. But we got the centimeters here. I'm going to put it down in here, which you'll see some of the gas come out for a second here. And we run it down right there. You can kind of see, I don't know if you'll be able to see that on camera, but we have about 28 centimeters, which just means that it's pretty full. As it stays out, there's a lot of nitrogen in there. So we'll put our lid back on, put my towel back over. That's more for me feeling comfortable. And we are ready for transport. So now that I've checked the nitrogen, we know that it's good, safe, ready to go. What I do is I transport it in my trailer. If I wasn't taking my trailer, I would end up putting it in the back of the truck. You don't want to put it in the vehicle. They say that it actually, if you keep your vehicle closed up, you can get asphyxiated by the gases that are gassed off from the nitrogen traveling down the road. I don't know, I've never heard that, but if you're following behind one of them big old nitrogen trucks that are driving down the road and stuff, big old tanker and stuff, they got smoke coming out the back. That's gassing off. This does the same thing in a smaller amount. So you don't want to transport it inside the vehicle. I just think, I think it's safer to put it on the outside of the vehicle. If you have to transport it inside the vehicle, if you're in a car or something like that, I think you would be okay. I've done it in the past and never had a problem. But I just want to tell you, for safety, I would keep it outside the vehicle. I actually usually haul it in my trailer. I have a strap on here that I wrap around one of the bars, so there's no way that it is able to tip over. So I'm going to take and move this to the trailer. I'm going to get it all strapped in. So as you can tell here, got the tank in the back of the trailer. I just have it ran up to my gate so that way it does not tip over. That's how I transport my tank inside the trailer. There's no way it can tip all the way over because the strap is tied up higher than what it would take for the tank to tip over. So I am shooting a little video of how it rides back here with my GoPro on a time lapse. So I will show you that video as I travel along. You just seen the video of me transporting this tank down the road, how I secure it. I was unable to video the transfer of the semen that I was putting into my tank. So I'm going to explain to you how I do it and what the best way to do it is. Usually you should have 2 people. Figure out which cylinder you want it to go into your tank, and then have somebody pull out your tank and pull out the tank where the semen canes are in. and transfer it as quick as possible. If you're transferring more than one cane, you should dip it back down into the nitrogen every time you transfer a set of canes. If you're transferring 1 or 2 straws out of that cane, you need to have your other cane ready in your tank. So that way it is already cold, ready to go. You should take and put it down into the nitrogen for at least 30 to 60 seconds before you start transferring. Just to make sure that that cane is cold. Then transfer 1 individual straw at a time if you only have a few straws you're transferring. But the best thing to do is transferring the whole cane. And the safest and the best way to make sure that you're keeping your semen at the best quality. So let's talk about semen. When you're buying semen from individuals, you should still look at who collected that semen, because that there will tell you if it's a high quality semen. There's certain thresholds that most collectors want to make sure that semen is at. There's some people out there that don't really care and they'll put up any semen there is. But most breeders, most people that are collecting, they want a high quality semen. I use B&D Genetics, and that's because I like them and like what they're doing. He's really looking for a really good on-thaw rate as well as a freeze rate. So he takes a semen straw, he freezes it, then he on-thaws it and sees what the live, how much semen is still alive in that after it was froze and on-thawed. That's how he does it. And I think that's how they do it every company collecting semen. So that's a good thing, is to check and see where the semen was collected, and if they know what the rate it was when it was put up. Most of the time, most people tell you, hey, it was X percentage at thaw. When you're buying semen, I would highly recommend, if you can buy it directly from the main company like B&D Genetics, Flat Rock, the actual semen collection company. If you can pick it up directly from them, because you know how that semen's been stored. You know that it's been in a good maintained tank. You don't know what that other person, even though they say, hey, I maintain my tank on a regular basis, you don't know 100% for sure unless you have a relationship with them. So you want to make sure that you're getting good semen. I've had people say, hey, I bought semen and it only thawed at 10%. And they go back and check farther back, and it was when it came from the place, it was switched 2 or 3 times in 2 or 3 different tanks. And that, if it's not done properly, that's why I'm doing this video, is a good reason why your semen is not viable at the time of you getting ready to use. You want to make sure that you're taking out of one, putting into the other as quick as possible. So if you got value out of this video, please go down there, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and leave any comments below of videos I can make for you guys and stuff. That's our goal here, is to educate you guys, help you guys out, and help you guys learn different parts of the industry. So thank you for coming along with me today. Actually, over the last 2 days, as I traveled out west to pick up some semen, and now I'm back home. So thank you for coming along, and see you guys on the next video.